Well, I wanted to share with you another health challenge that I had. At 53 years old, I took a routine blood test, just a routine check for different problems, and turns out that I had some elevated levels as it pertains to the prostate test. So we waited and we tested again, and apparently it got very aggressive and went up really quickly. And it really threw me for a loop because, here I am exercising and eating a plant-based vegan diet. And the last thing I'm thinking I should have to worry about is some form of cancer. I mean, I got my colonoscopy, that came out clear, and I'm glad that was clear. Praise God for that. But the prostate problem was something that caught me by surprise. And it was so aggressive from month to month, from 1 month testing to the next, that they immediately scheduled me for a biopsy. I have yet to have the biopsy as of the taping of this video. So, similar to what I did with my heart problems, I began to immediately research. And I got a hold of some material and this particular book, The Cancer Code by Dr. Jason Fung. And I'm intrigued by Fung's research because he talks about how fasting can increase your chances to fight back cancer or prevent it in the first place. I had already been doing some intermittent fasting. And then there's another video by Dr. Mindy Pelz in which she was talking about a recent human study on fasting and how it affected cancer. Now, it was the Mindy Pelz study that got me doing what I'm doing right now. Well, it wasn't her study, but the study that she talked about. And I'll put a link to her study and her video about the study at the bottom of this video. But it talked about, they took those folks who are suffering from cancer and put them on a 14-hour dry fasting eating regimen. So dry fasting is when you don't eat or drink water. And they did that for 14 hours. And they did it from sun up to sundown. So they let the people in the experiment eat a breakfast. They didn't eat lunch, whatever, for 14 hours. An early morning breakfast, and then for 14 hours, they didn't eat or drink anything. And then they let them eat again at the end of the 14 hours. The interesting thing was, it wasn't like these people were eating necessarily a plant-based diet. They let them eat whatever they wanted. Go back to whatever diet they had. But it was the fasting that was fascinating to me, because with that study, plus what Dr. Jason Fung has been talking about and other research I've learned, is that cancer, number one, is not the same cancer cell. There can be different variations of cancer cells in one clump of cancer. Secondly, cancer loves sugar, and it gobbles up sugar. It thrives on glutamine. And thrives on fat, specifically LDL fat, bad fat. So if you're eating a high-fat diet, eating a lot of sugar, drinking a lot of alcohol, because alcohol converts to sugar very quickly and all that, these are all things that allow for a cancer to thrive. What I decided to do is I decided to make my body the most hostile environment for cancer I could create. Cancer thrives on sugar, glucose. It wants to use glucose for its energy. And then according to the cancer code from Dr. Fung, what happens with cancer is that there's two ways that cells can create energy. It can use oxygen and create like 36 ATPs, or it can use glucose and only create 2. Cancer purposely just goes to glucose instead of using oxygen, even if oxygen is readily available. Okay? According to Dr. Fung's research, even when it's available, cancer will still do that. And so you kind of wonder, well, why would cancer be inefficient in doing it? Well, cancer is slick, okay? Because what cancer does is when it creates energy, it also emotes or sweats out lactic acid. Like when you get burning in your muscles when you work out really, really hard. Cancer emotes or leaks out lactic acids in surrounding tissues to damage them when it uses glucose. And when it leaks the lactic acid around the other cells, it damages them enough so that the cancer can jump on those damaged cells and grow more. Cancer loves sugar, glucose, to the point where it ravages. It's ravenous about it. It continues to grow and doesn't stop growing. And so sometimes some folks researching cancer say, well, cancers continue to grow because it continues to eat glucose and it has an unsatiable appetite. Or does cancer have an unsatiable appetite because it grows and doesn't stop growing? But they both work hand in hand. So the last thing you want to eat when you're dealing with cancer is obviously anything dealing with sugar. Drop your glucose as much as you can in your body. Well, this is where the fasting really comes into play. When you fast, your glucose levels drop, and then your body goes into your liver, and it takes all the glucose out, and by the end of about 12 hours or so, your glucose levels are depleted totally, and then it forces your body to go into your fat cells and start trying to utilize it. Dry fasting goes into your fat cells as well. But what I'm trying to do is, with that experiment that I was talking about, the dry fasting, they did it for 30 straight days. 30 straight days. So I've been doing it for the last 20 plus days, making my body as hostile to cancer as I possibly can. Fasting for 14 hours, dry fasting. And then even after that dry fast, I'm only drinking green tea and water until I get back home, which is actually about 2.5, maybe 3 more hours. So I'm still fasting, but it's water fasting. So I'm going from dry 14 hours to wet to water fasting for 3 more hours. Then I'll eat. And then when I do eat, what do I eat? Well, first of all, I'm taking supplements like, those things that help with saw pimento, along with vitamins and all these other things that deal with natural supplements. I stay away from glutamine because that's in a lot of protein powders, particularly, whey proteins. They put glutamine in there. You don't want any part of glutamine, because then even if you're fasting, the cancer will jump on the glutamine and grow steadily as if your fasting is not working. But I don't know what's going to happen because I'm still about a week away from my biopsy that I've got to take. But I wanted to put this somewhere for somebody, just in case for some reason, things don't work out for me. But because I might be, if it's too late for me, I wanted to work out for somebody else so that somebody else will know what I'm doing to make my body as hostile as I can. Now, in addition to this, I'm dry fasting, but I'm also walking 4 to 5 miles a day while I'm dry fasted. That may seem extreme, but since I've already been doing fasting in a general sense anyway, working out fasted with water fasting anyway, the dry working out fasting is not a problem for me. But what I'm doing, the walking, is I'm trying to burn as much energy as I can while I'm dry fasted to drop my glucose levels even more, to make my body even more hostile towards any cancerous growth. I don't have any symptoms right now. I'm losing visceral fat, which is fat around your belly, around your belly. And I've dropped from like 190 something to 183, oscillating between 180, 183 around there. And I do eat a plant-based diet and a vegan diet. So I think that all of that does help. I mean, it's probably why I haven't had much in the way of symptoms. And there's no way that eating a plant-based diet hurts. It only helps. My hope and prayer is that everything works and gives me a chance to heal. That through belief in God and trusting in God, because another thing you don't want is stress. And when you're worried about it, when you don't leave it in the Almighty's hand, that's a stressful situation, which just stress can cause cancers can pick up as well, which I find ironic, which is why I do a little yoga in the morning too. So what I'm saying is this. I'm dry fasting for 14 hours. While dry fasting, I'm walking 4 to 5 miles a day. After I wake up in the morning, I do yoga. Then after my quick 30 minutes, 35 minutes of yoga, I get myself together and I go out and I walk outside in the sun with the trees and all that kind of stuff. And as much as I can, unless it's really storming outside, then I use the treadmill. And then after my 14 hours of dry fasting, I'm just drinking water or tea, green tea to be exact. Then I come home and I may work out with the weights, I may not. If I don't feel like it, I don't bother with it, you know. And then that's when I eat I take a shake with oats, vegetables, like basic vegetables and fruits and berries, strawberries, blueberries, a little bit of pineapple, banana, creatine, plant-based protein, arona powder, which is a big-time antioxidant, a couple of scoops of oats. I take Brussels sprout and cut it and put it in there. I take, oh gosh, what is the name of it? Not anchovies. Anyway, and so I chop all that together and I take my supplements with it, and that's my first meal. And then I eat other plant-based stuff. So that's my strategy so far, and I hope it works. I'm prayerful that it works. But one thing is for sure, it's made me stronger. I mean, I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling younger. I'm not feeling sick at all. Even though my tests are saying I'm sick, I don't feel sick. Last but not least, you know, I've been really meditating and praying and doing daily devotions with my lady and all that. And all that has helped me, because the reality is that, you know, like the song says, this world is not our home. We are just passing through. And I don't want to live petrified of death. So establishing your relationship with the Holy Spirit, pretty good idea too. And some folks will say, well, yeah, you're gonna show run to God when you're about to die. Why not? So, one thing, the best trick the devil ever pulled was saying, oh, it's too late for you to go to God. You should have went to God when you was healthy. Well, yeah, you're right. But now that I'm sick and he's giving me the grace to come to him while I'm sick, I'm coming to him. And we don't know where God's grace begins and ends anyway. So who are you to tell me when it's time to go see God and when not? Because what God may be doing is giving you a chance to come to him. Because even Paul, the apostle, had a thorn of the flesh. And God didn't heal it for him. He said, my grace is sufficient for thee. So even in my case, my name is Paul too. I know that his grace is sufficient for me. And I'm praying that his grace pulls me out of this. I hope that this has been helpful. I'm posting this for whoever may need it. Don't give up. I got people around me one main person around me that makes me not give up and has a sense of humor about it, because I'm doing what I can with what little I got. That's an inside joke, but they know what I'm saying. But I feel strong. I don't feel sick, even if I am. Even if I am. So, I want to encourage you to investigate Dr. Jason Fung's material. I want to encourage you to thoroughly investigate fasting, because we eat too much and we cause a lot of sicknesses because we eat too much and too much of the wrong stuff and too often. And we don't exercise enough and all that other kind of stuff too. But man, do we eat way too often and way too much. And I really hope that my grandson is able to see this, so that he can learn what I learned. I learned what not to do for my grandfather, and I hope he learns from me. Take care. Paul Williams, 7 Steps to Quit.